Okay, now that we have an organizational unit created to hold our users, which by the way, we don't need, we can put users just in our users folder. In fact, our default administrative and guest user actually go there. The drawback to doing the users folder, one of them, is I can't apply group policies here. I can't delegate control. So a couple of drawbacks there. So I want to put my users inside an organizational unit. And in the previous video, we talked about creating an organizational unit, nesting organizational units, and then deleting organizational units. So I want to create an object here in marketing. I will create a new user account. So I can right click on marketing and go to new and user. I can also, with the selected, click on new user up here, create a new user in the current container, or I can right click here and create a new user. And all of them are going to take me to the exact same thing, which is my new user creation wizard. So I'm going to right click here because I also want to show you in here I can create a new user, I can create a printer, another organizational unit to test it, a group, a contact, a new computer account, a new shared folder. So lots of things we can put inside organizational units. So I'm going to create a new user. Things that I have to have. I have to have a user login name. I'm going to go ahead and give it a full name. Let's do Samantha Smith. Oops, let me do this right. Samantha and last name is Smith. Now, notice as I do this, it automatically populates the full name. I can actually change that, right? If I don't want it to say Samantha Smith, I can change it here. Here I'm going to set my login name. So I'm going to do S Smith. And it's at dalton.local. And if I've got multiple domain names or aliases, I can change them here. But this is going to be the default one. This is going to be their primary login name. And then it automatically generates my pre-Windows 2000 login. This is for backwards compatibility. We're talking 25 years at this point. Hopefully we're not using this still. But it goes ahead and creates it. Again, you can change it. Really, we don't have to worry about it. So I'm going to click Next. So I have to give it, a couple of things I have to give it is the user login. In fact, that's really pretty close to all I need. If I want the account to be active, though, I need to set a password. So I'm going to go ahead and set a password here. And then this will be the default or the first password for the user. Now, because I set it, I honestly don't want to know it. I shouldn't know it. So typically we're going to leave this checked. User must change password at next logon. Now, if we're creating an account to be used by a service, then we don't want that. In fact, that's normally where we'd say user cannot change password and password never expires. There's a few other reasons why we'd use password never expires, but that actually trumps the default group policy settings or even customized group policy settings of how often somebody has to change their password. Password never expires just overrides that. Now, here's the other one to be aware of, and that is this account is disabled. So I can create an account in a disabled state. And what that means is the account exists. I can add it to groups. I can do whatever I want to with it, but the user cannot use it until I enable the account. And sometimes we'll do this if we're creating accounts for people who maybe aren't starting to work at the company yet, but we want to go ahead and get everything set up for them. So when they do start, all we have to do is uncheck this and away they go. So I'm going to click it. I'm going to leave. Yeah, let me go ahead and check that. And I'll show you how to fix it here in a minute. So we're going to say account is disabled, next, and then this just confirms. And okay, fine. So this creates our new account for Samantha Smith, and then they'll continue to populate here as we add more and more users. And you'll see over here in my sales OU, which I created earlier, I have a user and a group account. So cool. So we can see how we are organizing them now using our group policies. So let me go ahead and open up the Samantha Smith account. So I'm going to double click on it, and this shows us way more options than we had before, right? When we created it, there were only a few things we set. When we open this up, we have a whole bunch more options, and some of these are informational only. So like description, office, telephone number, email. Active Directory doesn't care, but it will store that information, and then we can search and find Samantha Smith and figure out how to get a hold of her. Same thing with address information. This is all informational. Account. Okay, this is where we set her user login name and change it if we need to. We can unlock the account if she locks her password. Here is when the account expires. So if we have somebody who we're going to create them account, but they're not going to be a permanent employee, we might set it to expire at a specific time. Here's where we can set what hours are allowed to log into, which stations are allowed to log into, and here are a bunch more settings, including where we can go ahead and enable the account. I'm going to go ahead and leave that disabled for the moment. We have our profile. Don't use this a whole lot. Some places still do. More organizational information. The other one I really want to point out to you here is this, member of. This shows you the groups that they are a member of. And by default, they're a member of the domain users as soon as you create them. Anything else, we're going to have to manually add or script or something like that. Okay, so there is our Samantha Smith account. Now, we right-clicked and went to Properties to get there. Also notice we can right-click to add to a group to enable the account. If you look right here, and it's a little hard to see, it might be easier to see if you're following along and you can look at it on your own. There is a little down arrow in a white circle by Samantha Smith. That means her account is disabled. So I'm going to right-click and enable the account. And now that's gone, and now this account can be used. So that's why we can go ahead and create the account, set it all up, do all the customization to it, and then when we need to, just right-click and enable it. This also is where we'll go to reset her password, to move her to another organizational unit, and a handful of other tasks. But those are the big ones. Okay, there we go. We have now created and managed a user account in Active Directory.